Okay. All right. So let me start over again here because I was in the wrong profile. All right. So yeah, I woke up this morning in extreme amounts of pain. Okay. I woke up this morning in extreme amounts of pain, and it was at 2 a.m. and my arm hurt from all the way up here, all the way down to, oh gosh, my hand, to my wrist. And it was not like, it was actually like a couple weeks ago when I had the arm pain on my left hand side and all up to my shoulder, all the way to my wrist. And then my armpit was a little bit of a rash underneath, leaking out, lymphatic fluid, I guess. And so, yeah, so then, I went through the processes, and then on Monday, I had crazy ass dreams, like seriously crazy ass dreams. Like you saw the post about those dreams, and those dreams told me that there's a disturbance in the force. And so, yes, the disturbance of the force was yesterday, that video about me coming out around my dog. I have finally ironed out some insurance and other things that need to be ironed out. Like yesterday was just a very aggressive day in the, just in my own finances, my own world, and then also out there, what people have to post and talk about for their own monetary gain. And that's fine, because we need to develop a national conversation about everything. And so I had those dreams, and then yesterday I had to take a nap. And so I took a nap in the afternoon and woke up to good news around my insurance stuff. And then also woke up to some interesting news about a troll came through and posted a video of that person that actually does get a lot of views. And they did cover my stuff a couple years ago. And so I have to really probably thank that person plus other people and Dr. Phil and all the articles to put my name out there so people can take a look at themselves, and they can love me or hate me, develop religions about me, that's fine. And also study the information that I put out there and make a choice about what they want to do. And so, I was posting about pain and paying, like paying, and your signature, and your word is your bond. When you verbalize something, people say life is short, play hard. People say, get your bucket list. People say, oh yeah, when I die, I'm going to haunt you. Those are the bonding words to death. People have already bonded themselves to death way before they even know that they do that. But yet they say they want to live. Yet they say they are pro-life, but they've already bonded themselves to death. And when you bond yourself to death, then you have a signature that signs your life away. And so, yeah, with my dog, let's bring my dog into this. My dog was already marked for death in the veterinary system way before I even got her. So actually, I received a dog that was cursed through the veterinary system as well as through backyard breeders. But that's pretty much all shelter dogs. They have been cursed. The ones that are no-kill shelters, what they do is when they do a no-kill shelter, they take an animal that's off the street that had issues, came from an abusive background. They go and therapize it, do operations, do all these types of things, let the dog heal, and then they go and adopt it out. So then a new owner, someone who wants to adopt an animal with all the pie in the sky ideals of, they're going to have a new best friend, a new animal that they can be friends with. They don't realize what's lurking beneath the surface. They don't realize how much atrocities those animals have gone through and how much has been covered up by the veterinary system, by even the shelter system. And now I'm not saying they're bad or good. They are what they are. They are reacting to the humans that commodify life in the environment. And so when you have already bonded your animal to death with the veterinary system, with the holistic system, when you've already bonded your children by paying the health insurance, because when you were paying health insurance, you are bonding them and marking them that they will be a participant in the death culture. Every single time they feel something, they will get something surgically taken out, if it requires that. They will get a pill, a powder, a supplement, or a detox, or an operation, or anything else that warrants the medical intervention. And so paying health insurance premiums is bonding yourself to a death culture, and they call it life. Okay? And so when you do that, and you are also a head of household, a major breadwinner, and you've already verbalized that you're going to die someday, that you want to leave your children in an estate, or leave your wife or husband in an estate so that way they're okay when they leave, life insurance is bonding yourself to death. Okay? But if that is your choice, that's fine. Then when someone is going to give you a gift of their death at some point in the future, then you give them everything they almost possibly want without destroying yourself and them while they're alive. Because they're going to give you the gift of death down the road, and then you give them the gift of whatever they want in their life. And that is the quid pro quo in families, relationships, marriages, people who understand what it takes and what it means to be in some kind of contractual, contactual relationship with people, place, and things. Okay? And so I said, your word is your bond, signature is life, pay or paying for services is contractual. And so then you're going to see now the developing world come online. And they are right now. They're the ones that watch those videos. And even some of the first world that are on their way out the door, that have been trauma bonded and signed their life away in the veterinary system, in the medical system, their animals away and all that. And so they're reacting to that video. But that video was meant to trauma bond people, to keep them locked up, to keep them weak, to keep them completely distracted and blinded to new information because of the trauma bond that already exists within them, and that just triggered them into another trauma. That's the Rosicrucian way of bonding people into nation building, bonding them into patriotism, bonding them into whatever it is they want them to bond into, to also be afraid of salt and water and cabbage and fermentation, to be afraid of facing the pain. Like I faced the pain this morning. When I had that pain in my arm and I was posting stuff and I was just tossing and turning, my arm was just hurting. And so I woke up and I got the coffee, drank some Cafe Bustelo, added some sugar and whipped cream. And I was watching this movie called Snowman on Netflix, and I'm just drinking, and then I'm posting, I'm typing stuff out, and this word just kept flowing, just kept flowing. And I'm like, okay, so I'm doing that. And then I'm like, you know what? I went to the restroom, and boy, was there stuff needing to come out. And it came out, and I helped it out too. And then I had to take a shower and make sure everything is out. And it was crazy. It was crazy how much was coming out. And so then, okay. And so then I'm like, okay, I released those demons. Now I feel so much better. My arm doesn't hurt as much. Okay. And so I use my book that says everything that I do. I'm very transparent. I am so transparent. And I'll tell you, the medical and the holistic system and the veterinary system is not transparent. They do everything behind closed doors. You drop your animal off and they do whatever they do. You don't know what they do to your animal. They don't know what kind of trauma your animal has been inflicted, because the animal can't speak. And when the human is under anesthesia, they can't speak, but their cells can speak. And when they finally wake up and then you feel the pain, that's your body screaming at you, what the fuck did you do to me? When an animal goes to a veterinary system, they don't get to speak. They're drugged out all the time. And when they do speak, they get drugged out. See, that's the secret of the medical holistic system. Is they hide the trauma that they do to you, to the animal, to your children, And here I am, I'm fucking transparent all over Facebook. I don't have a group, a private group, because no group is private on fucking social media. I do everything on YouTube. I disable the comments because I don't need all the bullshit. I don't do anything through private messenger because I don't need that bullshit. And so I'm so transparent, and I have a book. And I have a book that tells you exactly how I release the demons, how I take care of myself, how I self-insure myself. And so you're going to see now that those that are so used to the trauma bonding, that are addicted to the trauma and the porn of trauma, they're going to react to those videos that are purposely meant to traumatize people. Will only give you one side of the point of view and will not allow you to see the other side, because that's not their intention. Their intention is to traumatize those that don't have discernment, those that could be illiterate, that are highly emotional, which is why then I get a lot of the developing world people come on my Facebook and talk smack to me, as well as those that are in other countries who are aging out, who are so attached to animals that have died in the past, talk smack to me. But that's just another religion of hate that was developed from those videos. And so developing countries and trauma bonding, that's what made America so great. All the wars is trauma bonding, nation building, patriotism, then the disease, then all the death. So much death is trauma bonding. When there's so much death, it means there's a war. And it's not always on a battlefield. Sometimes it's a microbial war, political, religious, scientific wars, all trauma bonding. The explicit movies on Netflix, TV, YouTube, all nation building, tiny nations of social influencers. Because you can see the following. You see people are reacting, and they're bound by the trauma. So now you understand what MK Ultra is. Now you understand what MK Ultra is. Okay, it's trauma bonding. And so then you see the explicit movies on Netflix, TV, YouTube, all nation building, tiny nations of social influencers who then destroy each other with their ignorance, with no discernment on what to believe or not to believe. So they go to the lowest hanging fruit and they take the easy way out. They religiousify everything, building and developing platforms of love and hate, the religions of love and the religions of hate. Two sides of the same coin, who lack respect for anything but gaining followers, believers, building up their Patreon account that will confirm to them they have believers. No different than the crypto scam market. Scams are people who want to take your money and they keep taking it and taking it and taking it until there's nothing left of you. And that's no different than the medical holistic system. You have a pain, they keep taking away your proteins. They keep taking away your natural processes of release. And so if you can't discern between what's a scam and an idea that goes against your belief system, you don't deserve evolution. You deserve to be scammed by those who claim they're scamming. There are scammers while taking your money, your time, your firstborn, your animal, by selling you everything under the sun. They sell you hate, they sell you love, they sell you acceptance, and they sell you groupthink. That's the religions of the world. So you will see the developing world fall into that. You will see all the religions, the new religions in the developing world crop up from YouTube and social media. Oh, it's quite extraordinary to watch. You will see what America started out from. The developing world is like watching your child grow up and make the same mistakes you did. Remember, I was talking to that guy from Africa, and he just didn't understand where I was coming from because he didn't have enough life experience. He thought of me as some kind of fucking savior, and I had to delete him. Okay? And so you'll see those in the developing world will be easily influenced by missionaries, by people who will then brainwash them into a specific way. And then they're going to have to fall into that system, pay their dues, be trauma bonded into bondage. And then they will eventually wake up or they pass away. One of the two. But not everybody in the developing world will fall victim to this, but many will. You will also see many people in America still fall into the group think, the group hate, and the group love. It's a dime a dozen. It's all over fucking social media. Right now, new religions are popping up. I mean, Obama said that. As soon as they say, aliens exist, then there'll be a new religion around that. Well, there already is. You are the aliens, okay? So we don't need artificial intelligence to do that because it's already being done on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere else on the internet. It's fucking phenomenal to watch. Watching people hate the J world and love it. The new religions of love and hate, which is why I don't want you to love me or the J world. I want you to save your fucking ass self from those who mean to destroy you. If you can't, then you will join the groups of love and hate and justify it, and then become an avatar with filters and makeup and Botox and surgery and justify it, selling an image with a product attached to it, claiming everything under the sun. And so when you are in contact with people, you are in contractual agreement. And so, yeah, your word is your bond. Your signature is your life. Are you signing your life away, or are you signing your life in force? Usually, when people sign their life away, they already verbalized it. They bonded with the notion that it becomes written. So let it be written, so let it be done from the king and I. And so when people write their own demise, they say life is short, play hard. They say when I die, do this. Here's my bucket list. I'll tell you, people cast spells on themselves all over the place. And so do the religions. And so you can take on people's gifts and take on people's gifts and shit out their spells and curses. If you're okay with dying at the hands of a professional, you've already put a curse on everything you touch. And so when you've allowed a holistic medical professional or a veterinarian mark your animal or child, when you adopt an animal or a child who's already been therapized by the system heavily, that's just a ticking time, B-O-M-B. When you adopted an entity that's already marked for death, now you get the joy of watching it go through the process. And you hope you get a little bit of joy out of it before it ends. And so because the suffering is astronomical, watching something you absolutely love go to shit, see that I don't know how people can do it. That's the thing. You only want an animal once when you watch that shit. But you're like, oh, well, I'd never watch my animal suffer because guess what I do? I drug it. I do all the surgeries. They go under anesthesia. And then I put them down when it's too much. That's what people justify. Having animal after animal, or the animal dies, or the child dies, or the husband or wife dies, or the mother and father dies, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's whatever. And they go on and take on another life. And as if that life was just, didn't really mean much. And so anyway, so when you adopt an entity that's already marked for death, now you get the joy of watching it go through that process. And you hope you get a little bit of joy out of it before the end. Because the suffering is astronomical, watching something you absolutely love go to shit. Then you'll find everything to blame when the animal dies, when the person dies, or develops complications, extreme complications. When you try to give yourself and your animal a second chance of life, and they have been marked for death, you lost before you begin to win. And most people and animals are marked for death. Some people mark their own selves to death, marked for death. Some people mark themselves for death because they don't understand life. Some milk life for everything it's worth, and then they don't care where they end up. And some will do Hail Marys, thinking they can bring themselves or their animals back. Like I tried to do, well, I didn't really do a Hail Mary. I actually was on the right track, but then I didn't know that she had those traumas. That those traumas of the laparoscopic spay surgery and the aspiration for the cyst that she had before me was going to come back and then show me what the medical system, what the veterinary system did to my animal. That's what the trauma that we all had to undergo, was watch that situation. And so finally I'm like, okay, now I have to put my animal down because, there's no way that we're all going to watch her go through that process of rebuilding like that. Okay. Yeah, it was pretty sad. It was very sad. But that's what people do behind closed doors. That's what they allowed the veterinary system to do behind closed doors. When you just drop your animal off to the animal hospital and then go home, you've now washed your hands of that, and now you allow that butcher to take on your responsibility. And so now they have blood on their hands, and so do you, because you made that contractual agreement. That money that you paid to them bonded you and that animal to death. And so some will do a Hail Mary thinking they can bring themselves or their animals back. It's all relative to how much trauma you underwent when you are marked for death. To convert death into life is a painful venture, and it's not for everyone, obviously. Some of you have undergone so much trauma, there's no fucking way you'll be able to live through it again and come out the other side and survive, because you don't have the support system, you don't have the strength, and you don't have the will to live. It's just easier just to go out with a bang. And so to convert death into life is a painful venture, and it's not for everyone. You will find people who will try and they won't succeed. Some won't even try because they know how much trauma they or their animals underwent from irresponsibility to mismanaged issues that could have been solved by itself, but they forced a veterinarian to intervene, and they also don't have the support of the people around them. Most people and animals are marked for death. You will know who you are because you know how much trauma you underwent or forced your animal or child to go under trauma at a young age. I will never be duped into trying to save a person, place, or thing or animal because it's a trap and now you get to suffer. And so then what I say? And so I hope that those in the J world with animals who have not been marked for death, I hope your animal survives. I hope you can be the one to prove to the world what I couldn't prove because my animal was already marked for death, given the trauma she underwent in the veterinary system. But at least now you know what happens to animals when they go in for surgeries, when they are bred over and over and over again, and also humans. Dying and reproducing on top of compound predispositions and genetic anomalies will cause the suffering if you want to ever bring your animal back at some point. And so if the exposure of how I tried to save my animals shows you the treachery and the butchery of the breeding of animals and the veterinary system feeding on both ends, fucking so be it. You will also see how the system develops both angels and demons feeding off each other. And that's the whole shelter system. That's all the saviors out there and the demons who go and exploit the animals for all of their little puppies and babies, and then the mother is then just tossed. No different than a lot of breeders out there as far as humans, where they just let the mother go. She gets iced out of that family because the husband and wife can't even get along. And so guess what? The kids are belonging to the in-laws, and the mother is iced out as if she'd never really existed. She was just there to breed the children, and then the children go into the family of the husband or the ex-husband. That's where women who have children, who are in divorces with young children, that's how they're, and with big families on the other end. If she doesn't have a big family, but the husband has a big family, she gets iced out. And so, and I vice versa. There are husbands out there that don't have a big family, but the wife has a big family, and the wife and the husband don't get along, and the husband gets iced out. Oh, it's pretty sad how we have bred this type of treachery and built a crazy ass system on hopes and dreams that go to shit. And so you will see how the system develops both angels and demons feeding off each other. I'll expose the fucking industry on both ends, all for the love of money. And so I'm not getting involved with anymore with angels or demons until the system changes the way they do things, and it's not going to happen for centuries. And so even the farming system, okay, now I'm going to say this because we have a lot of people who are right-wing conservative that want to go, and religious, that still advocate local farms. Okay, now I understand that we still need meat, milk, cheese, eggs, all that stuff, the food supply. That's why Bill Gates is developing lab-created meat, lab-created milk, and where we don't have to rely on enslaving cows to have all these contraptions put on them, or having somebody keep taking their milk and forcing them to produce milk to feed people or for commodification. All right? And so even the farming industry is going to go to the wayside. Even the local farm planting industry is going to go to the wayside. We're going to have the agriculture, like the factory agriculture, which is fine with me, genetically modified or whatever. They are going to be the future, but it's not going to be at the detriment of the land, at the expense of animals. Animal husbandry and animal enslavement, people hunting animals. Okay? And so, yeah, right now we're watching the caveman evolve into something, into a higher form where we do put value on animals' freedom the life of an animal, not constantly producing and reproducing and developing so many different offshoots for every single person to go and commodify. I mean, but that's not, I mean, let me tell you, we have a developing world that's billions of people that will be doing that. We're going to watch ourselves make the same mistake, enslaving animals, enslaving each other, selling everything on the market. You see those trolls that come on and say, oh, that try to sell you an herbal supplement from overseas. You've seen that. So you see the developing world follow in our footsteps, selling the herbs, the extracts, the pills, the powder supplements, and even religion. Because the missionaries found a way into developing worlds and have brainwashed people into a religion of love and hate. And then they're going to also go into the herbs, the extracts, the surgeries. And so it's phenomenal to watch ourselves make mistakes and grow and develop. And you're like, looking into a mirror, like looking at your younger self going like, what the hell? And you can't really tell your younger self anything because they're going to have to go through the pain and the suffering of developing. They're going to have to they're going to have to figure it out or not. And so if you can take away anything from the last 6 years in the J world, it's realizing how much has been shielded from us. The fantasy that was given to us through Disney, through all the different allegories, that, yeah, when you think about the Anunnaki, the Titans, the giants, and then they who biotech, the system, has now diminished the giants, because there were giants back, well, really giant people, like maybe 9 foot, 10 foot tall back in the 1900s. Early 1900s. And then we see them, in basketball or other types of sports. But they figured out that the Titans in the beginning, whatever you read in the Bible, those were actual people. I don't call them gods, no one to worship. But they figured out how to enslave humans through trauma bonding, through alchemy, through stories. And so you see how elaborate the stories have become relative to how someone wants to characterize a person, place, or thing, idea, or energy. And then that's where you get the written word, the alchemy, the spells, the curses, the gifts. And so when you are in contact with people, you are in contractual relationship with them. And then it's all based upon your obligations. What do you mean? There's levels of obligation. Because when you are in conversation with someone, there's a give and take. And if there's conflict, then that also has to be dealt with. And if there's no conflict, then there's already an assumed give and take that is amenable to both. And then there's really aggressive contractual relationships where you sign on the dotted line, where you are obligating yourself to give percentages of your body, mind, and spirit to somebody else in return for something else. And you hope that return is going to help you versus take more from you. And people don't realize when they sign the dotted line for anything, when it comes to all these different finances, agreements, how much they are a slave to debt. But people want to make that choice and they think they have what it takes to keep up on that debt. You can't say that they can't have it. If they want it, people want what they want. And so bonds and debt and all of that's a slavery. It's a slavery system that's based upon commodifying addictions, needs, wants. And then all the needs and wants get all balled up into one. People don't even know what they need, what they want anymore because it's all hormonal. And they have been triggered into hormones. And then also trauma bonded through war, through the love of money, through chasing social capital. And then of course, commodifying their children, commodifying themselves, commodifying their animals, turning everything into money. And so, yeah, and that's when I was watching the crypto thing this morning, the crypto scam, turning air into money. It was like, it's all Ponzi. It's turning someone else's loss into your gain. That's all victimizing people monetarily. That's why I am now unto myself. I don't have any partners in this, in the J world, because I don't want, people are trying to commodify the J world, and there was no commodification with it. There was nothing there like that. And a lot of people were looking for the payout. We're looking for an escape, looking for making something from nothing. I mean, when you think about the worth of you, it's your ability to innovate, to produce, and to maintain balance, and to not get in over your head in body, mind, and spirit. And to also not allow somebody else to dictate your emotions, and to commandeer your proteins, and to tell you when you should do something when it comes to energy of your body releasing. If you don't know how to take on other information to see if there's another way of doing something, then you have no one to blame but yourself when the end result is complications. The end result is the siphoning off of your energy, the aging process, and then the death process. Okay? And so people don't even know that when they pay their insurance premiums, they are making a deal with the devil. When they commit their kids to the medical system, they're making a deal with the devil. And they don't look at it that way, again, because the devil and the angel and Satan and all that have all been used in religions to keep you distracted, unaware of how the world really works, because you have all the distractions. There's a reason why. There's a reason why they have given you almost everything a utopian society. Because when you get lost in pleasure and you eradicate the pain, you'll never know what it means to actually live and face what life is. Death will always be optimal for many people, even the death process. And so my animal was facing life, and life was aggressive. And my animal, before she passed away, underwent a lot of trauma in the veterinary system. And so the no-kill shelters are not necessarily the best because they breed suffering. When humans take on shelter dogs, they don't know what's in their genetics and they become problems because that really wasn't bred out of them. Then there's more suffering, more money for the veterinary system. The animal gets brought back to the shelter to go get then rehomed, another $100 fee or whatever fees that are attached to it. It's a fucked up system. It traps people into misery, into despair after the few minutes of joy. Because yes, anyone can have fun for a minute with a baby, as far as enjoying the company, child, an animal, even a friend or a family. But then if you believe in death and people should die someday, then you get to watch the deterioration process. And it fucking rips your heart out. And then you get desensitized to it because then you watch all the movies normalizing death, destruction, and suffering. And then the only way to end suffering is to actually have all-out destruction of a cell, of an organ, and then eventually the person or the animal. And they call that life. They call that an amazing life. Watch your friends and family go through the suffering in the medical holistic system. It's not what it's cracked up to be. It's not the optimal. Believe me, I would not wish the medical holistic system on my worst enemy. I would rather face the pain in my world. I'd rather face the pain of release. Yeah, my arm was sore earlier. It was really sore, but then I released this morning, like I showed in my book, like I described in my book. I released those demons. That pain is gone. And I'll tell you, it was sore. It was fucking sore. And I released those demons. But I earned that because I put in the time. And it wasn't a quick fix. Like, people are like, oh, well, I guess I could do that and have no pain. Bullshit. You have to go through the goddamn process. And if you can't go through the process of understanding that you're going to have to maybe change your lifestyle and change your belief system on some level, then you're going to look for all the shortcuts, and you'll wonder why you end up 30, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 pounds bigger, or you can't seem to keep the weight on, or you're always going to get some kind of surgery, or you're always getting diagnosed with something. But right now, people are going into the hospital for surgeries. They have infection. They are miserable with their life. They're depressed. Oh, I see it all over. It's crazy. It's like it permeates. But then at this point, I'm desensitized to it. I mean, I have empathy for people, but I can't change what's going on in their world. And so when you understand the J world, when you really understand the J world, you're going to have to strengthen yourself and not allow the dying world affect you and take you down with them. That you're going to have to face that and still remain strong in spite of the misery and the suffering that's around you. That's what I could offer in the J world over time if you earn it. Is that when you face your own pain and face your own demons, you will have not only an awakening, but you'll be stronger in the face of all the bullshit that's out there. And you'll probably make better choices and different choices in how you respond to energy, and maybe not even do the things you used to do, like with the holidays and all that stuff. Not that I'm religious against the holidays, but sometimes these holidays are made to keep you locked up and miserable and addicted. It's an amazing awakening, the J world is, if you can actually handle it. Some won't be able to handle it because they have too much of a social lifestyle. The drinking, the smoking, the drugs, the alcohol, all the same stuff. They won't be able to kick their lifestyle. You know? Yeah. Somebody's saying, responding to this, if you're okay with dying at the hands of a professional, you've already put a curse on everything you touch. Yeah. I'm going to say that I say stuff because whether you agree with me or not, you're going to have to face your own demons. You're going to have to face your own demons. And it's going to be different for everybody. They're like, really, Julie? So, when I said I will not get involved with angels or demons anymore, because they can be interchangeable relative to the intention. You don't want to get involved when you think something is an angel or demonic or angelic based upon how someone wants to paint themselves, because you don't know the deception, the manipulation behind each. And so then that's when you have to develop discernment. Because right now we have actors and actresses that have been dubbed as an angel, and they could be acting. Are they really angelic? You don't know. There's so much deception out there in people's facades. Now you have to look within and know yourself and understand yourself. And then you'll understand humanity. And it's going to be, people won't survive the awakening process, because if they knew really what they've agreed to, what they signed on the dotted line when it comes to the health insurance, when it comes to veterinarians, when it comes to anything in the health and wellness world, when you sign on the dotted line, there's a whole world of trauma that you just signed up yourself, your kids, everyone around you. And when you finally realize what you've committed yourself and people around you to, people can't handle that reality. That's why they go under the influence. That's why they have to be drugged out. That's why they have to be under the influence. Because that pain of knowing, finally waking up and knowing, is so great. Like in the Vampire Diaries, when the vampires finally become human, the pain of really what they did as a vampire, feeding on people, destroying families, destroying children, destroying animals. When they turn into a human, not a vampire, but a human, their humanity comes back like a tidal wave, and they could barely survive being human. They want to go back to being a vampire when they can just go and destroy willy-nilly, and it doesn't faze them. Because in the Vampire Diaries, it's like people who don't wake up. People who don't really wake up, and they're under the influence, and they're feeding off their friends, their family, their children, their animals. It's just a feeding frenzy. They're not really connected to what they're doing. But when they finally wake up and finally realize what it is, the world that they live in, they'll wake up for a minute and then they want to go back to sleep again because it's too much. That's the morals of the story of the allegory when it comes to vampires and werewolves and witches, warlocks and wizards and alchemy, and then Disney and the Grimm fairy tales and all the allegory and the Greek mythology, the Greek history, Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Iliad, the Odyssey, what is that, Dante's Inferno, all the great prolific writers, the classics. I'll tell you, there is a message in all of those stories, but you got to read. If you don't read and all you're reading is just bullshit out there, well, what's bullshit? If you're reading superficial stuff, if your whole world is about just one big, if you are just one big meme, that's easy. You see people that just, all they do is post memes on their Facebook wall. There really isn't anything of too deep. Their world is one big meme. It's political. They have an issue with the politician, with the country. But they don't say anything really too deep, because they don't have that depth. They barely can even look at themselves. And people don't look at themselves. And so that's why you have the superficial people out there. They're all about their looks and their YouTube Patreon account and all their followers. See, I molted. I released the old code, which was my last Facebook account. So that account is open. I have access to it, but I don't really police it. So you can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want to that Facebook account. I could care less. Or even my Exposing Lies and the old Jilly Juice business site. Trolls, go say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want and post every single article, every single thing about me. Say whatever the hell you want. Because that was the old world. That was my old world. Now my current Facebook is my new world. My current business account is my new world. My website is my new world. That's what I will police and get rid of all the little trolls. But they can go congregate and go feed off the carcass of my old me. That's fine. Because that's what that's what maggots and parasites that are overly excessive, that's what demons do. They feed off the death of the old world. That's what they do. They feed off the death. They feed off destruction. They clean up the death and the dying, and then they cannibalize each other to leave room for the new world, to leave room for growth and evolution. But you can't get caught up with what they're doing. You can't get caught up with all the maggots. You can't get caught up with all the scavengers. of the ocean, the scavengers. I'm not saying that you can eat scavengers if you know how to release the demons. Because you can take on the gifts of scavengers and release the demons. But don't get caught up in their scavenging. Don't get caught up in being one of their pieces of food. Don't try to stop them either. That's what I've learned. So I'm not going to go onto that YouTube account over there of that person and be like, oh my God, I don't care. Say whatever you want. I say what I want. You say what you want. We stay in our perspective worlds. You have a right to your fucking opinion. I have a right to my opinion and my world and how I want to see the future and how I characterize the past. And we'll leave that as an open discussion for everyone to go and figure out where they stand with it. And some will be like all emotional and call me whatever. Some will be like, oh my God, that person's stupid what they're doing on that YouTube account. And that's fine. That's a civilized society where we're all able to air our concerns, our fears, our issues without being genocided for it. So as long as we're not breaking the law and or forcing our opinions on somebody else. Because that's not breaking the law, that's straddling, like overstepping boundaries, which is why you have an immune system or block and delete, okay? But that's a civilized society. You will see the developing world have trouble with that. They will cross boundaries and they will genocide each other. That's what happens in these indigenous tribes that don't have that kind of civility in understanding how to talk about differences. They just annihilate each other if they see something they don't like. That's the law of the jungle. That's what the New World Order, that's what George Bush was talking about. This is not the law of the jungle. That was the old world. But if people want to be the law of the jungle over there in some far off place, let them do it. Let them annihilate each other. Because we even have that here in different parts of America. There's law of the jungle, and there's people who want to be civilized. So those that want to be the law of the jungle, they're out there fighting in the streets. Those that want to be civilized are going through Facebook and YouTube and any other medium. And they talk about stuff. And they might say some pretty aggressive things. That's where you have to have a thick skin. If you're going to put something out there, someone's going to counter you, and then you let that just be out there and somebody else will observe and make their own choice. But I don't try to stop them. But if they overstep boundaries, then I have to put different measures to protect myself from those that want to genocide my thought process. And so even the law of the jungle can translate into social media, and that's where you have to put measures of protection. But no, I don't put myself out there to display that kind of Darwinian, social Darwinian exercise of futility. And so now it's time to intellectually express yourself. Learn how to verbalize and express yourself. And it's going to take work. And so any article or any video about me just brings up important issues, makes it a national conversation. Regardless of how you characterize me, I'm just a mirror to what you already have done, what you are doing, and what most people will continue to do because they won't change. They will keep enslaving animals. They will keep taking them to the vet to be butchered. They will keep shoving pills down their throats. They will keep applying aggressive concoctions to their animals' infections. It's not going to stop. But at least we bring it out in the open and we see what we have done. And either you'll be human and be ashamed of it and realize that you're not going to want to do that anymore, have an animal that you don't even know, or participate in that kind of futility. Or you keep doing it. And you'll be an example of what not to do. And then you will suffer along the way. See, I don't purposely make myself suffer. When I have suffered, now I put measures in to not suffer again in the future. Because self-induced suffering, you can't blame anyone for that. And when people take on things that they really don't have what it takes to keep it alive indefinitely, that's a self-induced suffering. And then it becomes a commodity, and then it also becomes a desensitization, and then they don't value their own life, they don't value their children's lives, they don't value their parents' lives, and everyone becomes a commodity to them. And so that's the old world. Now we're heading into a civilized society. Because even the monarch over there in England have gone through their own bullshit. And they're now going to, if they don't want to end up like the Romanovs and the Bolsheviks, they're going to have to evolve with the times because they are outnumbered. But they also have technology. And they're also willing to evolve and change and allow all belief systems to be displayed within reason. And there are laws and there are rules to live by and abide by when it comes to communication and making claims and dealing with people's health and wellness issues. And so, yeah, we are in the midst of some extraordinary stuff. And you're watching, again, religions being developed. Religions of love and religions of hate. Just like that. Religion is not hard to develop. And it's not hard to join a religion of love and hate. It's very hard to leave it. As you will see all over your Facebook. People try to leave the cult of love and hate. Some will never leave it because that's who they are. That's their religion, that's their politics, and that's their science. And they're on their way out the door. All right, bye.